And let's go here, Rasheed. Let's talk a little bit about, some of the things you've been having going on over these last years to even now. We can talk about career-wise and, things that you have going on as a whole.
Yeah. So basically with me, man, I've always, drove trucks, started off and I played it to the left. So I actually got a driving job when I was working at the moving company. Okay. And, what got me to kind of lay back off the moving more or less was my kids. Okay. So I ended up having my twins. Okay. And I was like, man, I wanted to be more of a stay-at-home dad, like, because not just being a stay-at-home dad, staying at home with the kids, but, I was always out of town. So my two older kids from my marriage, I would always come home, ball out, do stuff for them. They be happy when I'm home, but when I'm leaving, they like, because I was the fun parent. Yeah. So I was always taking them out, doing stuff with them. Yeah. And it got to a point when I had my twins and I was at the hospital, I was like, man, I literally, want to be at home more with them, spend more time with them, do a lot more than, my dad did with me, because a lot of the stuff I learned about, my dad and things, it was little things I remember because I was young when he passed, but it was more or less like the family coming at me. My sister came to me one time and she was like, man, you got some big shoes to fill. I'm looking at her like, what's up with that? She was like, man, your dad spoke 7 different languages. He was in the military. He carried himself a certain way. People respected him and all that. And the crazy part about it, that towards the end of his life, he was a recruiter. And he was in a wheelchair. And I was like, hold on. So you mean to tell me somebody in a wheelchair, man, I'm not going to the military. Yeah. If I see somebody in a wheelchair trying to recruit me, and they was like, man, the way he talked charismatically, man, he grabbed him. Right. He was having so many recruits because, he was telling them, hey, man, I fought for my country, this and that. But at the same time, like, look at the honor I have. Look what I'm doing for myself. Yeah. And I'm still, not letting this hurt me with my legs like this. And I'm still doing what I need to do to provide for the country. Yeah. So she real big on that with the family and everything. But, with that being said, I started telling my kids that, I got to start doing more with y'all. So I told my wife, I was like, yeah, I'm coming off the road. So I started driving, got pretty, into the driving in the moving company, left there, started doing other driving jobs. And, like I said, I always had that grind and that hustle. So the biggest thing with me was as I got older, starting to retain and get more knowledge. Yeah. Because I wanted to pass this off down to my kids, let them learn. So I kind of got into, just YouTube and things of that nature. So I started off, channel, talking with some guys and everything. And everything was pretty cool. They telling guys like, man, look, if you want to go farther in life, this is what you need to do. Right. Help yourself out, this and that. So I started, I'm started feeling it and I started getting another job. So I was working 2 jobs just to be at home with the kids. And one job, more labor intense, I'm working. Then the other job laid back. Man, I'm not really doing as much. Just the whole thing, it was an easy paycheck. So my thing was to hustle more than anything. I always liked to hustle, like everybody. And this is the funny part about it. So my wife is Jamaican. Oh, okay. And I actually was talking to my friends about that. Even my aunt, she told me that. She was like, you married a Jamaican. You not Jamaican. Why you got a whole bunch of jobs? Yeah. So, shout out to that Living Color. Y'all got to look at Living Color where the man was like, I got 3 jobs, man, 3 jobs. So everybody would always mess with me because of that, because I was always constantly working. Like somebody called me like, hey, man, I need a sofa move. I'm like, all right, I got you. Yeah. Then somebody else called me like, hey, man, you coming in to work today? I'm like, yeah, I'm coming to work. So I go to work, do that, get off, go move that sofa, get off, go do something else, then go to the little part-time and go do that. So, like, definitely hustling. Yeah, because at the point I'm at, I think it was like before 19, the C19, I ended up actually was working at a delivery job, easy job, laid back, and then turned around, I was working at AAA. Okay. And the AAA job was so a breeze, man. I just switched batteries, change tires so easy. And it got to the point, man, and everybody's like, man, why you working 2 jobs? I'm like, I ain't doing nothing. Yeah. My first delivery job, I got paid salary and commission. So they worked a deal to where I get a set salary. All I got to do is come to work. Then I get a percentage off of anything I deliver. Compared to coming in, working, 8 hours and stuff like that. Yeah. So when I was doing that, I was coming in, I was like, oh, so if I work fast, I can just get off early. I'm coming in at 6, getting off at 12 every day. And I'm like, man, I got to do something else with my time, man. I could be making more money like this. So I'm out, when I got the AAA job, doing that. That was a breeze. Yeah. The guy didn't even want to hire me because he was like, man, our guys, we do at least a minimum of, 10 hours or so. Yeah. And so he was like, but we'll give it a try. And I started doing pretty good. My numbers were, just spiking real good. And he was like, I got guys working full time, can't even do what you do, and you doing it in like 6 hours. So that was the thing. And they was like, man, they love me, man. And it was always love, yeah. And even, with my hustle that I do now, doing home improvement, I started off doing that with my father-in-law, fooling with him with some stuff. And, I always work with my hands. I can do little stuff. Me and my cousin, he'll call me, hey, come help me cut down this tree. Hey, come help me put it in a door. Yeah. Because the crazy part is I worked with my granddad. He had his own burglar bar company. I was 10 years old putting up burglar bar doors. Ooh. And I'm like welding, man, welding. I can
do a lot of stuff with your hands.
Yeah. So, I'm real handy. So it was nothing to me to, just be doing handy stuff. So a lot of the work that I get is word of mouth. So I don't even have to advertise. Yeah,
if you can get it consistent coming in, definitely.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing right now. Like, I'm trying to get my boys into not even going to college, just going to get a trade. I say, go get a trade first. Once you get that trade, if you don't like, messing with toilets or wiring up a building, electricity work, man, just go to college. Yeah. Pick out a career. You want to be lawyer, doctor, whatever. You want to go into some type of therapy, go do it. But try to get the trade first, because my thing is, while you're in college, you could be working and making the money to pay off that college debt.
That's true.
Yeah. So, like I told them, I told my 2 oldest kids, I said, look, I'm not paying for your college because I've seen young kids don't take college serious. I've seen people fail out the first semester. Yeah. And then they come back and say, well, I got to find a way to get back in, because it was the party. Yeah. It was the party lifestyle. You wasn't that good in high school, or you didn't take high school serious. College is going to be 10 times worse, because nobody's sitting there telling you, hey, get up and go to class.
That's true.
Hey, class at 9. You got to be there at 9. No, you go when you want. You missed the test like I was doing. Yeah. Hey, that's what you do. You failed a grade. Right. The professors are looking at that.
Exactly.
So, that was the thing.
Yeah.